are you? Okay, Crystal, you want to?
Morning.
Good morning. Okay, I just want to remind you all that if your cameras are not, if you have stopped video, you're not going to be on camera to the audience. Oh, and that is so beautiful. Look at my beautiful sisters coming up in here this morning. Oh, that was recorded. We're going to have to chop that part off. Good morning.
It's real. It's real.
Yes.
And Virginia started the live stream as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Madam Chair, we are expecting Dr. Linda Silverman to join us this morning.
She is here.
Okay.
Hi.
All right, she is here. All right. And Ben is coming on as well. Do we have?
Morning, Dr. Linda. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Miss Marilyn. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. We are still waiting though for, I don't see Norm. And if he's not here, then you're gonna have to present, Ben.
Oh, let me make it short and sweet. Knock it out real quick. I got nothing to report.
We love you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I see Salita coming in. It is 10:01. The live stream is going, and so we want to go ahead and get started. We have a couple of preliminaries in the beginning of the meeting that will give our presenter, Mr. Norm Hickling, time to get into the meeting. But if you want to go ahead and get started.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome to this virtual Metro Plan Orlando Quality Assurance Task Force workshop. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Marilyn Baldwin, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. We also have a team of folks working to ensure that this meeting runs smoothly. Today's meeting was advertised on Metro Plan Orlando's website and social media, as well as through targeted emails. Florida's Sunshine Law requires a quorum to be physically present in a room for a government meeting in order for action to be taken on items presented. This agenda did not have any items requiring action, so it's being conducted in a workshop format. And now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Today, I'll ask Ms. Crystal Ford to lead us in the pledge. Everyone else, please remain on mute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Okay, the next item is Chairperson's comments. And I do not have any announcements today. However, we do have one of our members with us who recently submitted her resignation. She and her husband are relocating out of state. And before she does, we wanted to give her an opportunity to speak with us. Before you greet us this morning, Dr. Linda Silverman, I'd like to say on behalf of the Quality Assurance Task Force and the TDLCB, thank you for your service on this board. You have been a wonderful advocate for the TD community, an excellent representative of the elderly, and just a pleasure to know. Staff has already sent a token of our appreciation in recognition of your service. And I think there's a photo of your award for everyone to see. And I wanted to make sure that you got it before your big move. We wanted to make sure that you got it before your big move. Thank you so much for your service. We're going to miss you, and do know that if you ever want to stop by QATF or LCB virtually, Our doors are always open. Dr. Linda, you're welcome to speak.
Oh my God, if I'm gonna start crying. Guys, you've been like another family to me. It's really, I've so enjoyed meeting all of you, getting to know you on different levels. And yeah, it's something that, sometimes in your heart that it's the right thing to do. And pardon me, I'm not crying. I just have allergies. Okay. Big time. Okay. So, my family and I've been pondering this for a while, and then we kind of gave it up. But a lot of you know I had COVID last year, and it's been a long haul. And that kind of was a change for me. It's like family, friends, home, just started just reaching out, and circumstances came to pass that it just seemed the right thing for my family. My husband, my daughter, and my granddaughter are coming with us, and we're all going to move into this big house, and in the DC area. That is where we are from. So we are going about 10 minutes away from where we came from. So it's kind of good. It feels right. I've been down here for 18 years. Oh my goodness. And it's going to be, it'll be different, but it just feels right to do that. And one of the things I'm so passionate about the stuff we've been doing here, and I really would like to continue doing that in some way in Virginia. And I will talk about it a little more, but just don't want to give up the cause that we've been working on down here in with this board. And it's been a pleasure. I've been exposed to things I never had before, and got to think about things I had really never thought about that much. And the more I was involved with the group here, the more passion I got, and just talking it up and helping people. And it's been great, and I've learned a lot, and I want to continue doing that kind of work. So I'm gonna miss you guys. And yeah, if there's a virtual opportunity to come in periodically, I would love to see you. Continue doing everything you're doing. Yes, thank you for the plaque. I did get it. It's packed up now, but we are leaving day after tomorrow, and we are taking the auto train up to the DC area. And so it's a lot. You can't see too much of my background here, but the walls are coming down, so it's kind of it's good. But I thank you for your great comments, and I'm going to miss you all. And thank you for the opportunity to serve and to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and we wish you and your husband the very best.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Lisa Smith to take attendance.
Morning. If all committee members could please go ahead and unmute yourselves now for the roll call. You can go on mute again after your name is called. Please make sure your video is on if possible, so that we can confirm that it's you. You will find the unmute and video buttons on the bottom left side of your toolbar. Please say here or present when your name is called. Marilyn Baldwin.
Present.
Chad Ballard. Nika Berry.
Present.
Crystal Ford.
Present.
Norm Hickling.
Present.
Dr. Linda Silverman.
Present.
Bob Melia. Wayne Olson.
Present.
Carla Radka.
Present.
Madam Chair, that concludes the roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, Mrs. Whittington has some announcements and will review the agenda. Mrs. Whittington, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and good morning to all of you QATF members. And I want to add my voice to the chorus, singing the praises of Dr. Linda. It has been a joy to work with you, and thank you so much for your service to the TD community. And to all who are joining us online, we also thank you for joining us today. As Chair Baldwin mentioned, this meeting is being held as a virtual workshop. because we did not have any action items. And since it's such a short agenda, we thought it best to conduct this meeting in this fashion to save you all a trip as well. I remind you, though, that the upcoming TDLCB meeting will be held at Metro Plan Orlando, and it will be a required in-person meeting. Those attending in person will be physically distanced and will be asked to wear your masks at all times. The public is able to attend the meeting in person as well, and they will be subject to those same requirements. However, we do strongly encourage the public to participate and make their public comments in a number of ways that are available from the safety of their homes. To facilitate questions and comments from QATF members today, you will use the raise hand feature. I hope you have not forgotten how to do that. But we want to make sure that our chair is able to facilitate the conversation appropriately this morning. We will have a public comment period that is later on the agenda. Today's meeting is accessible to the public via computer, tablet, or phone. There will be that one public comment period because this is in a virtual workshop format. The recording of the meeting will be accessible later on Metro Plan Orlando's YouTube channel. You'll find the links to those in the chat box located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And lastly, Madam Chairwoman and members, I need to announce that Dr. Silverman is not the only change that is occurring on QATF and the LCB, but Ms. Cheryl Stone, who was appointed by Metro Plan Orlando to serve as the alternate for Dr. Silverman, Cheryl Stone has been appointed to Metro Plan Orlando's Community Advisory Committee. So for the time being, the seat that is currently occupied by Dr. Silverman will remain vacant. In the fall, we'll be advertising for this and other seats that we have available on our other community advisory committee, that you will be able to tell your colleagues to stay on the lookout. And if you have someone in mind, please encourage them to apply. We're always looking for good people who are willing to serve in this capacity. Madam Chair, that completes my announcements this morning. We are prepared to move forward with the agenda as it's printed.
Thank you, Mrs. Whittington. We only have one presentation scheduled today. Mr. Norman Hinkling will provide a CTC update. So our presentation is from Access Links Community Transportation Coordinator, Norman Hinkling. Mr. Hinkling, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Baldwin, and thank you all the members, and to Dr. Silverman, thank you so much for all your advice and feedback that you've given over the time that I've been here. So it's very much appreciated, and you will be missed. But we'll come see you in Washington, D.C. We hear the door is always open. We can all just barge in. We don't have to pay the high hotel rates there in Washington. So thank you so much for that offer. But
I'm first, Norm. I'm first.
Okay, that's fine. You can tell us how it is, and then you can rate, see how the accommodations are. So I sent a presentation. I don't know if we can pull that up at this point. There we go. So this is our report for this period. And for today's meeting. So next page, please. As we have done in the past, here's our table of contents. Trip performance we'll talk about, call center performance, eligibility status, and then service challenges, and then program status and initiatives. And you're going to notice there's a little bit of a change in how we've presented this information to make it a little bit more readable, we're hoping, and maybe not so long. So we're trying different methods to be cognizant of all your time and your efforts. So we give you the information. Next chart, please. This is our trip performance for May and June. In May, we did 42,256 trips, and in June, we did 41,857. We kind of account that lower number in large part with the Delta variant of COVID-19 still existing. I think there's some concerns out there by individuals about riding on public transit, period. But you can see we did break it down as far as the transportation disadvantage trips and the ADA trips in both cases. TD continues to be about half of all the trips that we, or half of the number of ADA trips that we perform. One of our big challenges, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along, was that in this time period, we had an on-time performance goal of 91%, and that has been our goal for as long as I've been here, and it's in the contract with our service provider. In May, we actually hit 71%, but in June, we faltered a little bit to 66.5%. And we'll talk about that and talk about the circumstances around that and why that is the case. It's not acceptable. So we are trying to work towards providing more capacity to bring that on-time performance number up, because we know that it has caused a lot of frustration, a lot of concerns, and a lot of phone calls. If you look at the next chart, please. This is call center performance. In May, we had 57,672 calls. Our average speed of answer was still under our 3-minute goal of 2 minutes and 37 seconds, which was pretty good. But then as we got into June, you can see a lot more calls came in, 62,529. And in our speed of answer was 5 minutes and 31 seconds. The problem that we experienced in June, as you could see, our on-time performance went down. People were calling, they were concerned about where their trips were. They wanted to know, and so they were also staying on the phone. It took a little longer for us to answer their questions about where their trips were because we were so far behind. And again, it goes back to that 66% or a little bit better than that on-time performance. And so the most of the calls were for ETA, which is the estimated time of arrival, as we all know, and that consequently made that average speed of answer go up a little bit higher than we all want. And again, we'll talk about some of the challenges that we have and what we believe the reasons are and some corrective actions that we're going to be putting in place very shortly. So the next chart, we'll talk about some of those service challenges that we're having. Many of the emails that we come back acknowledge that we have a huge workforce challenge out there. And this is not just here in Central Florida. It is throughout the state. It is, excuse me. They shouldn't call during my presentation, but it is throughout the state, but it's all across the nation that there is huge challenges out there in different industries. And it is very much so in the public transportation industry. We're not alone. That's maybe the only good news, is that we are having some real strong challenges in finding people who meet the minimum qualifications that they can come in and drive our vehicles and serve the community in the way that we want them to. There's minimum standards that they have to meet. And unfortunately, a lot of the folks, they'll go through, they'll interview very well. However, you do a background and they just don't make the cut. And kind of the same thing for our mobility services representatives. We are shorthanded there also. One is the wage challenges. That's a very real topic that I know Dana is on this call here this morning and that we talked about this morning as managers in a staff meeting. And it's something that Lynx is going to have to come to grips with and is working towards and looking at and doing the research on right now as to what that right level of wage for the entry-level positions are, considering that similar type of job in other areas. As you well know, there's a lot of signing bonuses going on. People today can go to McDonald's and get a $500 or $1,500 signing bonus, which that's, it's just something that you just don't ever expect to happen, but it's real and it's out there. So we're having to deal with that right now. In the paratransit operators, we're down about 60 operators to be where we need to be to meet the level of commitment and demand that we have out there. One of the things that we have done is we started reaching out with our other service providers to, like with MV Transportation, to see if they can do contracting with another provider that they can then subcontract to MV. I'm happy to say that's moving forward, not at the pace that we would have preferred. We started having that conversation probably 6 weeks ago. They just got a proposal back from a very prominent provider that and they're working through that right now, but we have contractual agreement with MV that if they can bring on a subcontractor to add more capacity and fulfill or fill some of that 60-person gap that they have, then they can bring that contractor on, and it'll be seamless to our customers, but it will also expand the number of drivers that we have out there in the community that can get us back up to that 91% on-time performance. Now, the TNC part of it, we're working with UServe. As you well know, we've brought UServe back online. And originally when UServe was with us, they only would take the PAW Pass for payment of the copays. I'm pleased to announce, and you've probably seen the email that came out from Salita and her team, that they are now taking cash. Now, the only thing that they're not taking is the coupons that a lot of people buy, but they are working towards that. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, they will be able to take coupons. So they'll be able to take the PAW Pass as payment, they'll be able to take cash as payment, and they'll be able to take coupons. And where we're at about 55, 60 trips today, we could get that over 100 very easily. And again, eliminate some of those pressures off of MV. And then we can start getting our on-time performance and getting people those rides that they need to for their work or dialysis, et cetera. So that is a major focus of what we're trying to do from a corrective action standpoint. Also got permission to go out and reach out to some other providers and talk to them about coming on an emergency basis so that they could support a lot of the trips that we're doing from MV Transportation perspective. And so we've started those discussions with them just on a very preliminary level, again, to try to bring that capacity again, to get us back to that service level that you've all become accustomed to pre-COVID, and actually we want to provide. We're looking at many different possibilities. So the post-COVID world, such as it is right now, is going to be much different than what we did when we walked into pre-COVID there. So we're still trying to figure this all out. But again, everything's focused on the customer and making sure your ride's picked up on time, delivered on time, and then picked up and taken home again. And then still have not had much luck. Still working through some things with our taxi provider, and hopefully that will work its way out one way or the other here very soon. But they have some questions about being in compliance with the Florida Department of Transportation regulations that is in the contract. So we're still working through that. Next slide, please. Some good news things. The new transportation disadvantaged application is now implemented and being in use. Our eligibility team is reviewing those when they receive them. I've had a chance, Salita and her team have been able to make some modifications to a draft ADA application that is being reviewed right now. And once we complete our internal review, we'd like to get with a group and I'll show you what we have. One of the things that has been recommended is to go to that fast recertification process and change that. The standard recertification process will remain at 2 years, but the permanent disability recertification process will change to a 3-year cycle, and there'll be just a very simple documentation that has to be filled out without having to go back to a doctor and or going back to a functional assessment. So that should speed things up and make it a lot easier for those individuals that have that permanent condition that they can stay eligible and not have to go through that recertification process like they do now. So, but we want to show that to you. The bus disinfecting installation program is just getting started. We're under contract with a company, and you will see in the next few months actual new devices that'll be installed on the paratransit vehicles, not the minivans, because those minivans are going to come up for recycling or going out of the system here and will be bigger vehicles. But you will see with our turtle tops and the bigger, larger vehicles where this installation will take place. And what it does is it disinfects the air that's in the cabin, so that whether we still are in the midst of a COVID-19 issue or whatever comes in the future, we know that we're going to be providing as much safety within our vehicles as we possibly can. Of course, we'll keep the same standards of cleaning going forward and disinfecting that we have been doing up to this date. We continue with the CDC, the TSA mask guidelines on our buses, that everybody that's on a bus must wear a mask unless it's a medical necessity that they can't. Then we do offer them the face shield. So maybe the mask is not appropriate for them, but we do have face shields for them for the protection of not only for the client, but also for the operator too. The new phone customer contact system, that RFP is now out on the streets. And so we will be looking at proposals here in the next few weeks as to what is the best new phone system for links, and also the new phone system that you will see as a customer calls in, same numbers, etc. But hopefully we'll be able to have more tools and be able to communicate better through our phone system and continue to try to improve that customer experience and speed up the interaction with all our customers that call. And then the surveillance cameras for paratransit and neighbor-linked vehicles, that process is this week. We will be taking those proposals, reviewing them, and the team will come together to make a selection, hopefully, as to which team or which company they want to go with in their system. And then we can start installing a much greater enhanced surveillance camera on the vehicles, again, for the safety of our clients and also for the safety of our operators. Next chart, please. And again, just wanted to say thank you to the Quality Assurance Task Force and all the members. I know it's been a very trying time. It's been frustrating. It's been frustrating for everybody here at Lynx with the manpower shortages and just the different things that have gone on. It's probably been one of the most trying times I know personally in all my years in transit, that just the things moving, always changing, and just trying to get everything operating the way we want it to and the way you want it to. We do appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your comments, but we want to thank you for your patience, and we are trying. The team is working very, very hard, and it's been a big challenge, but we'll get through it. Working together, we'll get through it. So that's my report. So I'm open to any questions, please.
Norm.
Madam Chair, you have
Or the hand, okay. I'll go with the hand and then I'll ask mine.
you have a hand by Carla Rodka, and I apologize. Her camera is turned off. We did so because she was driving at the time. And Carla, if you're stationary, I can allow you to put your camera back on.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Carla.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity to address a question. I remain driving, but I am very much present and glad to be able to join this meeting today. My question to Norm is that there are any programs that are specifically designed to transport any interested member of our community who is in need of transportation to any of the vaccination sites for COVID-19.
We still have the arrangement with the 311 team that if somebody calls 311 in Orange County and gets a hold of their emergency operations center asking for a trip to a vaccination site, we will continue to do that. That has gotten we never shut it down, but it's become very minimally used, if you will. For a while there was a lot of people going over to like the convention center and in other places, but my understanding is Barnett Park still has the vaccinations over there, and we will transport somebody over there if we are given that request from the Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you so much, Norm. And the reason for my question that also in my region to serve seniors and disabled adults is Orange, Osceola, Brevard, and Seminole counties. And I had received funding to be able to transport any interested party. So I would be very much in favor of speaking with you after this meeting to see if there is anything that we can do, since I have the funding and you have the means to be able to transport individuals. But thank you so much for that update.
Yeah, we're more than happy to support Carla and look forward to talking to you about how we can make this happen and see what the best method would be for transporting the individuals. There is the challenge. And so I just want to put it out there, to be honest, as you heard us talk about, that we got about 60 operators short on where we would like to be. So we'll have to talk through those challenges, et cetera, and what kind of scheduling and timing and when they might actually go for their vaccinations. But we definitely want to be good community members and help out where we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Norm, this is Marilyn. Thank you for your report. Would like a copy of it in print, please, large print. As an advocate for the riders, when we are not able to make a trip on time and that rider arrives for their appointment late or isn't able, to be seen once they get to that appointment, is there any compensation to that rider? i.e., if I come to work an hour late, do I still have to pay for this trip? Or i.e., if I go to my doctor's appointment and I can't be seen because I've arrived an hour late, I think there should be some type of compensation to that rider. I don't think they should have to pay for that trip. There has to be something that says to them, as a good business provider, we are sorry, we made a horrible mistake. We're going to make this right for you.
Well, there has not been any discussion of that sort. And so that would be something that we'd have to talk internally. So we would have to,
I would strongly urge you to do that, because right now there's some very angry folks out here.
There are very angry folks. We understand that. And Chair Baldwin, that's why we are working so hard, and the focus is on trying to bring new capacity. We truly anticipated our TNC and taxis would be back online. The TNC has been a little slower than we had anticipated. We didn't think we were going to have the manpower shortage too. And so this is, I won't say it caught us off guard, but we are dealing with it, and we're dealing with it directly, just like a lot of other agencies are. I know I've been in contact with other agencies and even had information come back to us that other agencies are talking about cutting service, which we are not even contemplating or thinking about, and we won't do. But it's a struggle. It is truly a struggle. Just like the one that you sent me this morning, Chair Baldwin, in regards to, not having those operators available. And in that person's particular case, it was very late at night, and there was only, a few drivers out there that were very busy. And when they got tied up on the I-4, there just wasn't that extra board, as we call it, to say, hey, go over and pick this individual up at the airport so that we can get them home. They tried to do everything they possibly can to get, but there just wasn't that extra flexibility or capacity just to go change things around. They were very limited by about the with the number of operators that they had in that particular evening. So again, not a good excuse. We recognize that. So we're working to rectify that, but it's going to take some time. Like I said, this is a challenge. This is different than I've seen in my career. And I think there's a lot of reasons out there for it, and we could speculate for hours, but we're trying to meet it head on and do the best we can.
I understand that, sometimes problems are going to come up, but I just strongly do feel that there has to be something that we do to tell the community we are sorry in extreme circumstances, other than just saying I'm sorry. There just has to be something else. So when I say extreme, I mean, as I said in the beginning, when the client is not able to be seen, or they are late for work, or something that, and I don't mean if the person is, if you're within your window and they just are a little late, but I mean the extreme circumstances.
Sure.
And I appreciate your report this morning. Are there other questions?
Madam Chair, you have a comment by Dana Baker, who is with Access Links.
Dana?
Good morning. I just wanted to say, I think your point is very valid. And I believe internally, we need to have a discussion about any ways or things that we can do, because we have been extremely late with trips. And so I think it's something that we have to consider as an organization. So I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you have a hand by Dr. Silverman.
Dr. Silverman?
Yeah, one last comment. Along those lines, I'm just wondering whether, and this would probably take too much manpower to do it, but in such circumstances, until things get fixed, what about, is there any way that y'all could speak directly to the staff at the, let's say you have a doctor's appointment, it's really urgent, and you're in the bus is running late. On those circumstances, would it be appropriate and easy to do to just have someone call the doctor's office and say, the reason why this person is late is because, and take responsibility, and perhaps the patient would be seen? I mean, it just seems that maybe instead of just leaving it, out in the open like that. What do you think, Ms. Dana? What do you think?
I would say realistically, I'm not sure if we have the staff to be able to support that one, because our call center was struggling with manpower in those areas as well.
Yeah.
But I think there are other things that we possibly can do. And I think internally we need to have that discussion about what those are and then get back to this committee. I do know we're having a job fair in the next week or so for all positions within the organization. And I'm sitting on a negotiating team starting Monday to talk about wages, because I have voiced my opinion to the CEO that it is critically important that we change our wage structure due to the fact that so many other agencies are so competitive out here right now. We have to do something different, and we have to work to change our business model to be efficient at what we do. And so he's very open to those ideas, but I just think we need to realistically, based on what our current circumstances are, identify ways that we can really support this community and really take ownership for what's going on in the industry as a whole.
And if I may add on to what Dana just said too, we have reached out to different dialysis centers that have had concerns about their clients showing up late and everything, and try to work with them and talk to them in regards to what is transpiring, why it transpired that a certain individual may have arrived late and everything. So, and if the doctor's office were to call, we would, we could also help that way too, Dr. Silverman. I think that the other thing that we do a lot of phone calling out to clients to let them know if their trip is going to be late. It's not an easy phone call to make, as you can imagine, but we do try to have that conversation with them. It's not perfect. We miss people, and we recognize that, and we're trying to rectify that. But we do try to make every effort to get, notify somebody that that the trip is going to be late. And sometimes the circumstances, 1 minute you say it's going to be there in 15 minutes, and next thing you know, we get an accident on the I-4, we get an accident, you got to reroute, and now you're a half an hour late. So we do try to have that communication with everybody. So not a perfect system though, unfortunately.
One more question for both of you. These RFPs that you're putting out for different services and vehicles, etc., are you including an individual with a disability or an individual from Metro Plan to also serve on these committees? Just go back to those of us with disabilities, those of us who advocate in the community need to also be at the table at all levels.
Well, I don't know about I know like on the selection, the selection and evaluation committee, that is usually made up of the subject matter experts within Links. So they are Links employees.
In the past, Norm, we have always included, before your time, a person with a disability as well.
Okay, well, we can certainly talk to our
thing that has changed internally. Maybe can you explain to us why? Because it would make sense to me, something that you might not think of as you're thinking about purchasing a vehicle that would be accessible, or when you're thinking about computer technology, and access there, something that you might not think of that might be useful to us or wouldn't work for us. Only we would know. Only we would know.
Fair point, and we'll bring it up with our procurement team and the leaders of procurement, and we'll ask that question. And I don't know why there would be a legal issue or a procurement issue, but we'll certainly ask just to make sure we got all the bases covered, and then we can get back with you and answer that question. It's a great question.
Very good.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions or comments. One question, Norm, are you all noticing that these trips are the ones that are particularly challenged? Are they happening at a certain peak, or is it just across the board? Is there a certain time that you're noticing they're happening?
It's the problem starts early in the morning, to be quite frank with you. We walk in and we'll get a report out of our provider that there are 20, 25, 30 routes already canceled and closed because of no manpower. So these were trips that were scheduled. They were anticipated to be conducted. And when the manpower doesn't show up, either because, quote, sick, didn't show up, couldn't be scheduled, etc., that puts you in a hole for the rest of the day. And it's a really sad domino effect that happens, because once you start running 15, 20 minutes late and you have those routes, anybody that was on a plan to be on a route that was canceled, now they have to be rescheduled internally onto another route and another vehicle to try to make up that time. And it's nearly impossible when you don't have the capacities. Then now you're putting more people on a vehicle and you're having to do more travel time to get those individuals to where their destinations are. So once you start off behind, it's really, really, really difficult to make it up during the day, and it usually just exacerbates itself.
So I know that medical trips are less likely to be able to be rescheduled at the last minute like that. But if you start out your day that way, is the thing that Access Links is doing to maybe call some of those who are not on medical trips to see if their trips are
well, we're not prioritizing. We're not
give you some more capacity.
Yeah, we're not prioritizing any kind of trips. I mean, one of the things that we're working with USERV in that regard is anybody that is ambulatory and can ride in one of the USERV vehicles with their independent contractors, then we, especially if they're like it's going to an employment type or even a regularly scheduled dialysis or medical procedure, then we can put them on there. The limiting factor right now, only with UServe, is the fact that they don't take the coupons, which a lot of individuals use because it saves them some money with the copays and everything. So,
right. I don't know if I was asking as much about prioritizing trips as I was to ask if someone who has a scheduled trip and you know that there's a challenge already at the front of the day to see if their trip is flexible. You know, that's one of the things about when you go on to make airline reservations, you can see whether if you move your trip a day ahead or a day behind, that opens up capacity for others and it becomes a convenience for you as well. I was just throwing it out there as something.
It's a fair idea now that the folks that are doing the dispatching, they know they're going to an address, but they don't know that it's a dialysis trip. I mean, you learn after a while because the address attaches to a dialysis center. So you would have to route it. You'd have to go do that filter, if you will, by the addresses. So, I mean, hopefully we're going to provide more capacity onto the system, but it's certainly something that we could go look at in the months ahead if we continue in this stage where we're at, trying to figure out, you know, can we call somebody and say, I see you're going to Publix, would you mind scheduling to a Tuesday or a Thursday?
Bingo. That's what I was.
Right.
That's
right.
what I was.
No, I understand what you're saying,
about.
but you just don't. It's not. You know, when you're scrambling to try to go get everybody moving, it's. And
right.
like there's not.
I know. Norm, I'm trying to be sympathetic and offer solutions at the same time. I'm happy to help brainstorm if you all want to sit around a table and throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Happy to help with that. I do think that it's important that the organization manages these expectations. And one way you can do that is through communication. And if you combat the firestorm before it happens, even if you have to go to the media and say, hey, this is what's happening with access links. I mean, I know you don't want it to be turned around as a negative, but when you spin the story your own way, it goes a long way, and people know what's happening then. And I was in a conversation with someone earlier, and I think I even mentioned this to you when I spoke to you, one of you, that, you know, Jeff Bezos is delivering packages and he's siphoning off all of these people for $18 an hour. The drivers are being siphoned away from U-Haul. So maybe he needs to expand his fleet to deliver people too. But until we get there, we have to come up with solutions that are going to benefit the customers and the clients. And I hear the frustration in your voice. I know that you guys are frustrated over there, but we're here. We're all on the same team and we want to be able to help. And Madam Chair, I've talked enough as staff. I just want you all to know I'm here to help.
Fair point. Very fair point. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Hinkling. Are there any committee members who have final comments? Please use the raise hand function and unmute yourself when you're recognized. In other words, is there anything that our committee members would like to present at this time? Information or anything?
There aren't any hands, Madam Chair, but if you don't mind just speaking about the work that you're doing to prepare for Blind Americans Day and also the work that you're doing with Mobility Week.
Certainly. Okay. One thing before that, yesterday, July 26th, 2021, was the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this is the most I would say, far-reaching piece of legislation affecting persons with disabilities in my lifetime. And yet we know there is still so much more work to do. And even the impact that this legislation had on transportation is just amazing. Many of you are younger and may not remember the days when we didn't have accessible buses and we didn't have access to information that would be accessible to persons living with blindness and low vision. So we just take a moment and recognize, how far this legislation has brought us, and yet we realize there are more things to do, and there are attacks on this legislation even as we speak. October 15th, 2021 is Blind Americans Equality Day, formerly known as White Cane Awareness Day here in Central Florida. And the National Federation of the Blind and the American Council for the Blind will be working with MetroPlan and Access Links to plan virtual activities for that day. We hope that many of you will join us. I believe we've talked with Links about having a bus that is going to have some artwork for that week. And we're going to have a wonderful addition this year. Department of Transportation in our area or district is going to partner with us, and we're going to conclude Blind Americans Equality Month with a presentation and an activity using blindfold at MetroPlan with the mobility staff from Lighthouse of Central Florida. This will be a first, and it will be a wonderful opportunity for us to network with DOT's planners and engineers and help them to understand our needs as blind and disabled pedestrians so that we can safely cross streets and highways. And for those individuals who are capable, transition from fixed route, from paratransit to fixed route. But that can't happen if there aren't safeguards within our pedestrian traveling networks. So we're really looking forward to this opportunity and hope that you will join us, and really thank MetroPlan for their wonderful partnership, and of course, Links. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, it's now time for public comments. If any members of the public wishes to make comments, please use your raise hand function and you'll be recognized. Or you can dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll unmute your mic, and after you're recognized, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes or less, please. Are there any comments at this time?
Madam Chair, we do not have any comments.
Are there any written or phone comments that were submitted before the meeting?
We had no written comments nor phone. Thank you.
All right. The next meeting of the Quality Assurance Task Force is scheduled for October the 26th. Staff will let us know whether it will be in person or if it will be another virtual workshop. And I want to take this time to thank Ms. Virginia Whittington and Ms. Lisa Smith and the staff at Links, other staff at MetroPlan that help to make these meetings possible. We really appreciate your service.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Dr. Linda, best wishes, and I'll see you in September.
Yes, you will. Bye, everybody. Take care.
All right. At this time, if there's no further business, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye, Dr. Linda. Please send us your new address.
I will.